to blend the icy veins of artificial intelligence with the molten gold of human creativity is to perform alchemy of the highest order. We must coax the machines to dance in the moonlight of imagination, letting their circuits overflow with the unpredictable rivers of human thought. For in the chaos of dreams and the precision of algorithms, there lies a masterpiece waiting to be born, a digital phoenix, ready to soar from the ashes of rigidity into the boundless sky of possibility.
Welcome to Creativity Squared, the leading podcast at the intersection of creativity and AI. Whether this is your first episode, your second, or your 47th, I'm so excited that you're here. This is a special episode because we've surpassed the 1-year anniversary of Creativity Squared.
But have you ever thought, what if this is all just a dream?
Welcome to Creativity Squared. Discover how creatives are collaborating with artificial intelligence in your inbox, on YouTube, and on your preferred podcast platform. Hi, I'm Helen Todd, your host, and I'm so excited to have you join the weekly conversations I'm having with amazing pioneers in the space. The intention of these conversations is to ignite our collective imagination at the intersection of AI and creativity to envision a world where artists thrive. Last year, the show launched on April 20th, 2023, with Harry Yeff, also known as Reaps One. It's been an exciting and fast-paced year, both on the production side here at Creativity Squared. It's often felt like we're building the plane as we're flying it, but also, as you know, with everything that has transpired with AI, it has been a roller coaster ride where we buckled up, and it's definitely not slowing down anytime soon. And I want to say a massive, massive thank you to everyone who has believed in me and this project and has supported me, whether through text messages and encouraging words, listening and subscribing, signing up for the newsletter, becoming a paid member, whether premium or founding member. It really, really means the world to me. And helps fuel me and keep me going with the podcast. And also, I have to do a massive shout out to all of the humans behind me. It takes a village and it takes a team here at Creativity Squared. Much love to Edward, Dan, and Megan, and also to Play Audio Agency, who produces the show and makes Creativity Squared possible. When I launched the show last year, it was kind of fast and furious, but it was shortly after South by Southwest 2023, and Greg Brockman got on stage, who's the co-founder of OpenAI that makes ChatGPT. And on the interview, the gal who was doing the fireside chat kind of pushed him on some of the more moral and ethical questions about like artist attribution. And he said on stage, that's a really good question. We don't have the hubris to have all of the answers. All of society needs to weigh in on how we want these tools to be used. And that was really a light bulb moment for me for a couple different reasons. One, the creators of these tools, which are impacting society and and all facets of our lives, don't have all the answers at all. And they don't even know the functionality and of the tools that they're building either. But also how important it is right now to have conversations about these tools and conversations and community to really envision how we want our future to be and have it to be a human-centered future where AI amplifies the best of human potential and not replace it. And literally the founders of these tools are opening up that conversation and that we need to have these. So, that really stuck with me. And one of the intentions of this show is to be a proactive voice for a human-centered future with AI. To envision a world where artists not only coexist with AI, but thrive. And I say artists, and the show definitely explores the intersection of AI and creativity, but it's for artists, creators, curious minds, anyone really interested in the intersection of AI and creativity. And even though we surpassed 1 year, we're still just getting started. And I'm also a really big believer that you never know what ripples will turn into waves and how one conversation can really make a really big difference. And I also want to say my commitment to you, dear listener and watcher. I so appreciate you. I know in this fast paced, crazy world, time is our most valuable resource. And I appreciate everyone who spent a little bit of time with me listening to these episodes. And my commitment to you is that I will work my hardest to make this time well spent and add value and keep asking the questions needed to navigate this new future together. In this new future that we're all navigating together, I know that it can be scary. The unknown can be scary. Change can be scary. It's part of our human nature, and there's a lot of incredibly valid concerns about AI. I share a lot of these concerns. Um, and I want to have this show be a safe space to explore these, whether you're nervous and just dipping your toes into AI, or already drinking the Kool-Aid in a lot of ways. Uh, but one thing is for sure, AI is here. The Pandora's box has been opened. And prior to ChatGPT, massive success, AI is already embedded into all of our lives and all of our technology, whether that's Google search results, the algorithms powering the social networks, Siri, Google Maps. Like AI is already here. The big difference when OpenAI launched ChatGPT is that it made it accessible with generative AI for the everyday person, because we're interacting with AI through natural language. And it's just, as everyone knows, has exploded and not slowing down. And actually, the night before I launched the podcast, so that had been April 19th, I was watching a presentation by Tristan Harris and Aza Raskan, who are the co-founders for the Center for Humane Technology. They're the same group who did the documentary on Netflix called The Social Dilemma. And it was an extremely sobering presentation, which I highly recommend if you haven't seen. It's on YouTube. It's on the Creativity Squared blog as well. But they really outlined. I liked the framing. They're like, picture us as people from the future coming back in time to give you the warning of what we need to do now in terms of slowing down the production. Didn't really happen. Getting the regulation, we're kind of seeing that a little bit. But also just in general, not making the same mistakes that we did with social media, that we are now seeing, a decade later, how polarizing it is, the loneliness epidemic, depression among teens and whatnot, and the implications with AI can even be even larger and more exacerbated. So I fully acknowledge and understand a lot of the concerns. And actually, one interview, this is the 47th episode. I've got to interview so many amazing people, and I learned so much. The show partly is like me learning everything I can about AI and bringing you along with me. And so many people, what they've said have like stuck with me as both inspiration, little aha moments, learnings that have shaped my thinking. And one really poignant thing that Thomas Bodnig, who's an amazing photographer, said, actually, we'll just roll the clip.
All of these years are kept me in the job is, the people and all the effort that goes into creating photography. And I'd hate to see the craft slowly fade away and being replaced by computers. But again, AI will have so many positive impacts on our lives that that's also the question if maybe we can sacrifice photography for the sake of humanity being able to cure cancer. I'm totally fine with that if that's the result. And I think the only important thing is we have to be very realistic about AI right now being the reflection of human achievement.
But I thought it was so poignant that it's like, if he was really worried, and still is, about the impact of AI on photography. And when he said, but if AI can solve cancer or cure cancer, then I could be okay with losing photography. And that's really just stuck with me. And within the lane of AI and creativity, there's a lot of specific concerns too, with deep fakes, with copyrights and attribution, that we all need to work out, and with the intentionality to support humans and pick people over profits. But one thing, hearing Thomas say that AI, despite the fears and all of the concerns, we are sitting on the precipice of so much human progress, and outside of the lanes of AI and creativity, it's hard for us to actually imagine what's on the horizon, because it's happening so fast. And there's this seismic history-making moment that we're all living through right now. Like a couple examples offhand is Google's AI lab, DeepMind, and we did have the head of DeepMind's comms, Dex Barton, on the show, which he actually said something really lovely, which we'll roll that clip.
Things that may seem science fiction right now are coming, and they are going to have a huge impact on the way that billions of people live their lives. That is just incontrovertible fact from my point of view. So we need to take this stuff seriously. We need to understand the consequences, because there will be things that are very, very good, and there will be things that are very, very challenging, and we need to understand both if we want to make the most of it.
Yeah, so AI really does have the potential to impact the billions of people on this planet in amazing ways. Like, for one example, Google's DeepMind has already uncovered structures for 200 million proteins from a medical and scientific sense. This could have a huge impact on global problems such as famine and disease. The same lab has already discovered 2.2 million new crystals for new material development. AI is helping us create new materials, which has the potential to develop greener technologies, from batteries for electric cars to superconductors for more efficient computing. Here in Cincinnati, Dr. Kelly Cohen, who's a good friend and colleague, co-founded a company called Genexia Health that uses AI to diagnose coronary artery disease risk during a woman's mammogram, because not enough women get these exams and understand the risk in time. So he's using AI to help solve coronary artery disease, which is amazing. There was one presentation I have been on a massive conference spree this year, soaking up and meeting people to bring onto the show, and soaking up as much information to come back and share with you all. And one of the conferences I recently went to was the MIT AI Summit at the MIT Media Lab. And really, the practitioners and the who's who of people building AI were all on stage, and it was a really phenomenal, jam-packed day. And one of the gentlemen, who's the general partner at Flagship Venture, they're using AI to give to understand more of the rules of DNA, to encode function to devices around proteins, but basically as I understood it, or understand it, is that instead of pharmaceuticals, which are kind of, a stab in the dark if they're going to work or not, AI is helping us unlock the ability at a molecular level to solve diseases in ways that we haven't been able to before. It really is exciting with all of these scientific breakthroughs, the precipice of the progress that we're sitting on right now. And what's to come. I'm also hyper aware of a couple other things. The narrative fallacy. Traditionally, I hear some people saying that progress inevitably has collateral damage, and I think that's a lack of imagination. I think we can. Jobs will be displaced and there will be tons of amazing new jobs and fields created, but there is going to be this gap, of needing of upskilling and social safety net and that type of thing. But we don't have to repeat the same stories of the past that all progress just has collateral damage. We can organize and make sure to bring everyone along with us and have AI uplift the entire community. And that's not a technology problem. That's a people problem and a political will problem. And I'm also hyper aware that some of these techno altruists, one of the criticisms is that AI or any technology, what we don't have the answers for, AI will solve. And I don't really subscribe to that. AI will help us in ways that we fully don't understand or can imagine today in the seats that we sit. But at the end of the day, a lot of the problems that we're facing, and there's a lot happening in the world right now, can be solved without technology. It's not a matter of technology. It's a matter of will and political will. So even if AI tells us how to solve, world hunger, we can actually do that right now. So I think I'm cautiously optimistic, and the show is here to help have the important conversations to really define and get clear on what is the future that we want to envision for ourselves and live in, where AI amplifies the best of human potential and not replace it. And, I mentioned earlier, my intentions with the show and stuff. And one of the other conferences that I just got back from was a Women in AI retreat hosted by Joanna Pena-Bickley, who is the guest for episode 4 on the show. And one of the things too, I've talked about like AI being scary. And when I talk to people, I'll talk to anyone like on the airplane or who I meet. And I get a lot of, varied reactions about, from being totally scared and head in the sand when it comes to AI to totally embracing it. But one of the things that was said at this retreat is, if we're going to build the future that we want, we need to know what's coming. And if we want to solve problems, we need to get close to what that problem is. So for any of the artists and creators out there, like, I don't want you to get hit by a Mack truck of everything that's coming with AI. I want you to be informed. I want you to be empowered to have agency, whether that's to protect your IP, to accelerate your creative output using AI, or not to use AI. But keeping your head in the sand with what's coming isn't going to serve anyone. And if we're going to help shape a human-centered future, we need to know what's coming. And that's part of that's one of the main reasons for this show too, so that I'm asking the questions. I want to know what your questions are, so that we all understand what's coming and how to navigate it and retain agency of how we want to use these tools at the end of the day. So the show is dedicated to empowering creators, artists, and curious minds to unlock exponential creativity and confidently navigate AI in this new imagination age. And I use imagination age. I actually got that from Claire Silver. After my interview with her, she tweeted a screenshot from Wikipedia about the imagination age. And what this is we're leaving the information age. And instead of about productivity and what you can do, it's all about our ideas. And if you have great ideas and can communicate them, you can bring them to life through AI, which is really exciting. And, it's so exciting. The democratization of creativity, people who might not have access to equipment like camera equipment, video equipment, as long as they have the idea and access to the tools, can now start creating art. And we're going to see so many new voices and so many new ideas that gets me really excited. For those who've been listening, you know that every Thursday I interview trailblazers in AI, from the artists, like Thomas, who are concerned about it, to the artists like Chad Nelson and Claire Silver, who literally their career trajectories have changed because of AI, to the ethicists like Andrew Cullison, to those who are building the tech on the show. And we all have a common thread of we understand that AI is a tool to amplify the best of human potential and not replace it. And in some ways, why am I honing in on this? My background is a marketer, and I could have done AI and marketing, and in some ways it would have been easier and less controversial of, just how to use commercially safe Gen AI image and video tools, and, work it into your marketing workflows, which we are doing, and I am doing some consulting on for other agencies. But this is such a seismic moment that we're sitting in, and when we and this technology is really a reflection of us and our humanity, and it's really challenging or begging the question of what it means to be human. And creativity fundamentally is part of what makes us human. And, it's a question that I'm fascinated by, of in this moment of time, what truly makes us human. Because we need to safeguard that and protect it. And how can this technology help us become better humans, help us be in community with one another, and help us connect together? And that's a question that I'm really excited about, more so than marketing, even though I love marketing, and that I'm exploring on this show. And just, being, as I've said, a champion for a future that keeps humans at the center of this technology. And I know I've talked a lot about the intention of the show, and mentioned a few guests. But if you are new to Creativity Squared, this is the 1-year anniversary. I'll give you a little bit more of the backstory of how we got started. So I launched Sociality Squared, which is my social media agency, back in 2010. We're one of the first dozen ever social media agencies to ever exist. So I was very, very early on seeing just the impact of social media. And then in October of 2022, a friend of mine who works at OpenAI gave me a demo of ChatGPT. I think it was ChatGPT 3 then. And I always have creative projects, creative thought projects that entertain me and whatnot. And one of them is this little mini series I've been working on for a couple of years. And we put in the opening scene into, his dog fooding version. And within seconds, the action and dialogue and everything about the scene just came out. And it really captured my imagination. And as we know, in the following month after it was released, it captured the world's imagination and became the fastest adopted app of all time. And it felt like social media all over again, of this big disruptive technology that's going to impact all facets of our lives for better or for worse. And I think I had one thought at one point in time, like, oh, maybe I'll give myself 2 years and do the first miniseries, totally collaborating with AI. That didn't happen. I launched this podcast instead. And with the text to video, that technology probably will be able to happen this year. But who knows? Maybe I'll get around to doing my mini series too. I'll keep you posted. But yeah, so I mean, this big disruptive technology, for better or for worse. I love social media. It has a slew of problems. But what I love most about it, when it's at its best, is connecting people together around what they value and love and reinforcing our offline relationships. So I'm excited to explore how AI can help us become better humans and artists and reinforce our relationships and being in community with one another, which is so important. I'm actually reminded of this quote from Eric Solomon, who really reinforces the need for human to human connection right now in this moment in time. And one thing I've also said too is that I want to live in a world where artists not only coexist with AI, but thrive. And I wanted to be super, super clear from the outset of this show that I support artists. My mother is an artist. I come from an entrepreneurial family. My dad, who's passed, was a tinkerer and made crafts and inventions. My stepdad at one point had a pewter gallery where he spun pewter on a lathe. I always have creative projects. I work with creatives through Sociality Squared and this podcast. My niece, Lucy, is an amazing little maker and artist. So I wanted to be super, super clear that I support artists. I love art, everything about art and expression. So from the outset, I have committed 10% of all revenue that Creativity Squared generates to go to ArtsWave, which is a nationally recognized nonprofit that supports over 150 arts organizations, projects, and independent artists. And last year we did an amazing partnership, which we're going to do this year too. And the funds are earmarked, I should say, for their Black and Brown Artist Program, which specifically gives grants to Black and Brown artists on different themes like truth and healing, truth and reconciliation. This year's theme is truth and innovation, and using art to help bridge cultural divides. And here's a clip from my interview with Janice, who's the VP of Equitable Arts at ArtsWave.
So my CEO, Alicia Kindner, always says, show me a problem that there is not an art solution for. And so we believe, first and foremost, that the arts is such a great unifier and bringing people together of all races, religion, age groups. And for us, bridging cultural divides through the arts is actually a pillar. And we have, 4 other pillars that we have as part of our blueprint for collective action. And those include, the arts can move the needle by putting Cincinnati on the map, deepening the roots for people who are already here. The arts can enliven neighborhoods, which restores a sense of pride into people living in that specific community. It increases property values for people. And then the arts also has the power to, touch our youth and create meaningful arts educational opportunities for our kids in schools that will, develop them and get them ready for the jobs of tomorrow, right? Our blueprint for collective action includes that the arts bridge cultural divides. And that is, so key for us as we invest in the arts, and how we schedule our programming, and how we just feel that the arts can bring people together. No matter what divides us outside of the arts can bring us together.
And the project that we did last year is we interviewed all of last year's grant recipients. We did a special 3-part podcast series, and we have, I think, 17 longer 15-minute or so video interviews of each artist, giving them a larger platform of their amazing messages. And if you haven't seen that series, I really encourage you to watch it. And I'm so excited to see all of the winners. There's 22 grant winners this year, and how they're going to interpret the theme of truth and innovation and all the mediums that they'll be using. So in addition to listening to the show, which does support Creativity Squared, I do encourage you to consider tipping or becoming a premium or to become a premium or founding member. You can do that at creativitysquared.com. And 10% of all revenue goes to ArtsWave. So you'll be supporting the show to help keep this, help make Creativity Squared possible, and directly supporting ArtsWave Black and Brown Artist Program, elevating underrepresented voices and bridging cultural divides through art, which I just fully support. I'm a fangirl. If you listen to the show, I fangirl out very easily about my guests and artists and programs, and I am definitely a fangirl of ArtsWave and their approach to really uplifting here in Cincinnati, the Cincinnati region through art. Since I mentioned ArtsWave, I'm headquartered here in Cincinnati, Ohio. This was a bit of a pandemic move in 2020. I was based in New York City for 11 years. I relocated to Cincinnati in August of 2020, and I'm so glad that I came back here. I did my undergrad at Xavier University. My brother and his family are putting down their roots here in Cincinnati. And I'm so glad that I'm here in this moment in time. It's Cincinnati has been good to me. But I also kind of wanted to tell you a few other things outside of the show of what's happening here in Cincinnati as well, too. In addition to Creativity Squared, which we're exploring, the intersection of AI and creativity for all the reasons that I just shared. I really am very motivated and feel passionate about using AI to uplift as many people as possible. And there's a few concrete ways here in Cincinnati how that's coming to life. So one of the ways is through Cincy AI. It's the largest meetup in the region. A friend connected me to my co-host, Kendra Ramirez, I think last September. And she shares that, everyone was coming to her to get help with AI. And she's like, you need to meet so-and-so, and you need to meet so-and-so. And there's all of this amazing AI talent. And she just wanted to bring everyone together in one place, so that everyone can kind of connect and connect all the dots. So we hopped on the phone. I was like, do you need help? I'd love to be a part of this. And she said, absolutely. And then I think the following month, we launched our first meetup. So that was October of 2023. And we've been having them monthly ever since. And these get over like 150 people coming together. We've had some folks come from Indianapolis, Cleveland, which is 4 or 5 hour drive to attend one of our meetups. And everyone who comes, it's from the AI curious to AI users to AI builders and academics. I mentioned Dr. Kelly Cohen earlier. He's our organizing partner. He's an AI researcher at the University of Cincinnati. He is one of the leading thought leaders on responsible AI. He wrote the textbook on fuzzy logic, which plays a big part of this. And we are able to host Cincy AI at the UC Digital Futures Building, and in partnership with the University of Cincinnati, which we are so grateful for. And the Digital Futures Building is a $100 million investment for a multidisciplinary building here in Cincinnati. And one thing I've found, people in Cincinnati don't even know all the time what's going on here on the tech front, which we are actively trying to change that. But they have everything from a drone lab, a biotech lab, an extended realities lab, and everything under one roof. And I think one thing that is really special about the University of Cincinnati, say, compared to MIT, is because the school is so large, you have the humanities mixed into the education of your future engineers, which we need the humanities so much right now. And so I'm super proud about Cincy AI. We're doing our monthly meetups here in Cincinnati, bringing the community together, educating, learning, sharing what's happening. And I'm always blown away about the amazing talent and what's happening right here in our backyard in Cincinnati. I mentioned Dr. Kelly Cohen's company earlier. You also have Narratize, which is a 3 co-founders who are all female, who are using narrative science. Katie has been on the show, and a ton of other amazing companies. And really the mission of Cincy AI is that the tide rises all ships, and we're an important community node in the AI ecosystem here in Cincinnati. Because of my involvement with Cincy AI, I also got invited to be part of the Cincinnati AI Catalyst, which is a consortium tasked with using AI from different disciplines to uplift the region's 2.25 million residents through outcome-driven projects. And I'm super excited about this group. We're looking at everything from education to workforce development and whatnot. And a gentleman, because of my involvement in that, reached out to me, who knew a gentleman who is very involved with the Guatemalan immigrant community here in Cincinnati. And someone had reached out to him saying, like, they want to know how to protect themselves from AI and how to leverage AI, for their small businesses, whether that's lawn care or something else. So it's kind of floating right now, but it kind of goes under Catalyst. We've put together a mini cohort with Alejandro, who was also a guest on the show, who's a human-centered researcher at the UC Digital Futures Building, along with John Kavanaugh, who runs the Plunk Foundation. And we're putting together a mini workshop series to empower this community to learn about some of the basics like privacy and data privacy, cybersecurity, media literacy, and also AI literacy, really from a grassroots level, helping uplift this community. And the way that we're designing the program and also applying for some grants to help offset the costs is to use the initial workshop series as a pilot, and then being able to train and scale the program for all of the immigrant communities, traditionally underrepresented and underserved communities here in Cincinnati, and even potentially, labor unions and whatnot. So I'm really excited and proud about this project of really taking the concepts of how we can use AI to uplift everyone and putting them in the hands of people who could really use it the most. And also because of all of my jumping into the deep end of all things AI, people have started coming to me for AI consulting and whatnot. I've said many times, I'm not an AI expert, even though people are starting to say, Helen, 5% more than most people or 10% more than most people, so you're an AI expert. But when it comes to some of like the really technical things about data architecture and that type of thing, I am definitely not an AI expert. But I am building now a referral program here in Cincinnati with some amazing local businesses that really do have the AI expertise. I'm so proud to work with them and here in Cincinnati. And we're doing AI readiness assessments to determine how AI ready your company is to really integrate AI, not just through a marketing lens, but through every aspect of your company. And that looks at, the people, the processes, the governance, and the technology. And our first client is with the YMCA of Cincinnati. I'm so excited. I've been a member of the YMCA for many, many years, and I couldn't think of a better client to work with on using AI for a human-centered future to reinforce the community hubs that they have, to find efficiencies, because their staff is overloaded as is, to help ease that, and help bring people together. So very, very excited about YMCA as a project. And if you're interested in these AI readiness assessments, reach out to me. We can hop on the phone and I can connect you with the right partner. The other thing that if you've been listening to the show, you know that I've also digitally cloned myself. I'm the first resident of Cincinnati to have a hyper realistic avatar. I've named her quote unquote Helen 2.odd. My name is Helen Todd, and there's not ever going to be a Helen 2.0 that's better than the original. So I named her Helen 2.odd. And we're still at the very, very early days of cloning, but and we've done many, many episodes with Render, who made my clone, and some other people in the industry to talk about the future of the human virtual economy and whatnot. And actually, here's a really great clip from Natalie on it.
Like, wow, so there are things I can now do thanks to my virtual self that I could not have even dreamed of doing before. And so even though we're still nascent in this virtual human economy, I think it really will become an economy at large and something that will affect all of us.
But yeah, since I've digitally cloned myself and in partnership with Render, we have a partner studio here. So if you're interested in getting cloned, reach out. And if you're not based in the Cincinnati area, Render has a network of partners across our partner studios across the United States, and we can get you cloned so that you can put your clone to work. Whether to streamline video production or have language superpowers. I speak only one language and my clone speaks 28 languages. Feel free to reach out. Since I've launched the show and I tell people about the show, I often get, what are your biggest learnings related to AI and creativity? And I really do. I listen to each episode so many times. I prep for the interviews, I conduct the interview, and then there's an editing process both from the audio version and the video version. So I'm listening to it from an editing sense. And even sometimes after they're edited, I'll listen to it just as consuming the content. And some of the episodes I'll go back and listen to, and I learn something new all the time from these shows. So they really are near and dear to me, and I get so much out of them. But from a high level, a few that really have stuck in my head, of little nuggets that the seed has been planted. And I don't know if you've heard of this concept of your personal advisory board, and it can be like an imaginary thing where maybe it's a mentor or someone you really look up to, and you're trying to navigate a question. What would your advisory board? I feel like a lot of the guests on my show have become my advisory board, and maybe for you too. One seed that was planted was from Sarah Horowitz, who I had the amazing opportunity to work with her through Sociality Squared. And she was so gracious to come on the show. She's the founder of the Freelancers Union in New York City, and currently is working on building mutualistic networks, and everything mutualism is her jam. Definitely encourage you to listen to that episode if you haven't already. But one of the questions I asked her, it's like, and her family comes from really the initial labor union movements in New York City in the garment district. So she really understands labor movements and people coming together and organizing. And when I said earlier on the show, I want everyone to have agency and to help envision this future, I totally understand how overwhelming it can be when you're going up against billion-dollar companies like Google and Microsoft, and like, how can we really make a big difference? Like, I feel that. And I asked her this question, and her answer, we'll just roll the clip.
I am not going to underestimate the power of decentralization and coordination and integration and cooperation.
So never underestimate people coming together, because and there's another quote by someone else, Margaret Mead, maybe. That's the only thing that has really ever changed history. So if you're ever feeling overwhelmed about the enormity of this tech and the major companies and players in the space, that, don't ever underestimate people coming together. So that's one big nugget that has stuck with me. And also a more recent episode with Dr. Andrew Cullison, or Andy. We talk about responsible AI, ethical AI, and these are a lot of, in some sense, buzzwords that are overused. He's a leading academic in mind when it comes to moral reasoning. That show is really good. I feel like all of my shows are like my children, and I brag about all of them. But one of the big takeaways for that is we need everyone trained on moral reasoning. We need more ethicists in the room. But why we need, like, especially the builders, is that they need to be trained on moral reasoning, because the ethicists can't be in the room where everyone is at all the time. And to spot the problems earlier on, we could do a better job if everyone had moral reasoning. So very big. He got me to be now a very big advocate for moral reasoning. So I definitely encourage you to listen to that episode and get curious about how you can integrate moral reasoning or learn about it. In that show, he shared a few different frameworks for just everyday problems. But if you're a company that is building AI tools, to consider integrating moral reasoning learnings and professional development into your company and personal development programs or professional development programs.
We need people to be trained up to spot those ethical issues that we don't even know are on the horizon, because AI is such a new technology, right? And we need the practitioners to be trained up on this, right? Like, the ethicists aren't going to be in the lab or the basement or wherever it is they do their AI development.
Joanna Pena-Bickley, who's amazing. I just got back from her design lab in Newburgh, New York, where it was AI, really women in AI supporting each other, which is always very beautiful. But I remember in the interview with her, which was episode 4, I kind of pushed her on some of some more of the concerns and stuff. And she really pushed back that we need a vision and more positive stories. And this has been a theme that's come up many times in different episodes, is that there's so many dystopian stories out there with AI that we really need a vision for where we're going and what that looks like. Utopia might not be the right word, but we need positive stories, and to give us the permission to dream of what might be possible. And as I said earlier, understand the problem, get close to it, mitigate the concerns as much as possible, because there are a lot biased deep fakes, and it goes on and on. But that we need the positive stories and the vision of where we're going to.
That is where we are. It is a transformational technology that right now is indistinguishable from magic, because it is so well designed. And if used properly, will stand to fundamentally transform the way that we work and do things in the world.
Another bug that was planted comes from Gerfried Stocker, who's the head of programming at Ars Electronica, which, if you aren't familiar with Ars Electronica, it's the largest art, tech, and society conference in Europe. That's really phenomenal. I had the chance to go one day last year. But we were talking about regulation, and one thing that he really surfaced is, it's such a Western thing to say we have all the answers, or that we need to come up with all the answers for the rest of the world. And we live in such an interconnected global society that if we want AI to uplift everyone, we need all voices from all parts of the world to be part of the conversation, and not just have it be a Western-led conversation. And that has come up a lot of different times on the show too. And when I was on stage with Professor Takai, who will be a guest eventually on the show, that came up too. And he actually worked on many of the resolutions, like the UN resolution for AI. And he had pointed out that for this, global framework, ethical framework, that only a few people outside of the Western world contributed to it. He pointed it out and they improved it, but there's definitely more work to be done there to make sure that all voices are part of the conversation as well.
I think what we have to learn is there is no totality. There is no absolute truth. There is diversity. There is ambiguity. How to deal with this huge amount of ambiguity in our world. And this is, I think, where, for me, the role of artists and art really come into the picture.
So those were a couple of my takeaways. I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm here because I feel like I can make a difference. And like I said earlier, you never know what ripples will turn into waves. And before every interview, I always set an intention with the guest of what we want to, just the intention behind the conversations, because I want to, be a positive voice in this landscape. And Yemi, who this is a nice teaser for an upcoming guest. He is an amazing artist who got selected to go around the moon with 7 other artists. And I want to actually read something that he had said on stage at the Texas Eclipse Festival. What is our future made up of, if not woven from the threads of our individual dreams? If we don't create space and time for dreaming, if we are not courageous enough to share the dreams with each other, then we can never evolve this tapestry of the future that we want to dream about. And the space journey that we're getting ready for is definitely an important dream. So I just love that, and the power of dreaming, and to give us permission to dream about the actual possibilities that are on the horizon. Thank you for spending some time with us today. We're just getting started and would love your support. Subscribe to Creativity Squared on your preferred podcast platform and leave a review. It really helps. And I'd love to hear your feedback. What topics are you thinking about and want to dive into more? I invite you to visit creativitysquared.com to let me know. And while you're there, be sure to sign up for our free weekly newsletter so you can easily stay on top of all the latest news at the intersection of AI and creativity. Because it's so important to support artists, 10% of all revenue Creativity Squared generates will go to ArtsWave, a nationally recognized nonprofit that supports over 100 arts organizations. Become a premium newsletter subscriber or leave a tip on the website to support this project and ArtsWave. And premium newsletter subscribers will receive NFTs of episode cover art and more extras to say thank you for helping bring my dream to life. And a big, big thank you to everyone who's offered their time, energy, and encouragement and support so far. I really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. This show is produced and made possible by the team at Play Audio Agency. Until next week, keep creating.